We're going to be loosey-goosey and just enjoy talking about cards today. Hi, Sarah here. Welcome back. Today I want to share some favorite cards from the Spacious Tarot. The Spacious Tarot is going out of print, but I'm not making this video because I'm trying to sell you the deck or encourage you to buy the deck if you don't actually want it. One of the creators, Carrie Mallon, mentioned it on her newsletter, her Instagram, so I'll link the information in the description where she talks more about why they're currently not restocking it. Hopefully this is not going away like forever, ever. It's just for the time being. You do have the option to buy an expansion pack with or without the deck. For myself, I don't use the expansion that much. I think that the art is very beautifully done in this expansion pack. I just haven't found a chance to use it yet. So I'll just flip through the deck, and when I find a card that I really want to talk about, I will babble about it. As always, I'll have timestamps in the description so that you can jump to whichever suit you want to see first. I want to start with the Cup suit, so let's get started. The first card that I want to highlight is this Ace of Cups. So I grew up feeling afraid of emotions in any capacity. I wanted to tamper them all down so that they could stop inconveniencing myself and other people. I was so dysregulated so often because I didn't know how to properly take care of myself and my sensitivities, and my parents and people around me didn't know either. I was often deemed a sensitive kid. I felt like I cried a lot and I didn't know how to deal with it. I felt like I was just too emotional. But this Ace of Cups gives a very different idea than what I felt before about being afraid of emotion, being afraid of water. Here, this cup looks very serene, sitting on this tree stump by itself, or maybe top of the mountain or something. There's like some water actually, so that it feels like a separation between where we are in this cup and the water, the stuff around us. And most importantly, the mountains in the background look fuzzy or out of focus, but through this glass, through this water, they actually look more in focus. I think similar to how the Ace of Swords can represent like a new mental clarity, suddenly things seem more clear and you can see more details. You might have more ideas because you have these new emotions that are coloring your world. And now as an adult and with proper counseling and proper support, I know that emotions are not a bad or scary thing. All of our emotions are here to tell us something. With the right outlets and with the right supports, we can have our emotions work for us in the same way that our brains and our ideas and everything else works for us. A next favorite card is the Four of Cups. Even though I mainly read with Rider-Waite-Smith decks, I do get annoyed when some cards just seem very prescriptive and advice-giving. I like to read every card as neutrally as I can and or to see it positively or negatively depending on the situation. Oftentimes the Four of Cups seems like someone just being apathetic or complacent, and there usually is advice to like, oh, be open to things. Here, rather than giving advice on, oh, you should be open or you should not be open, it's just an acknowledgement that right now we just don't feel engaged with the things around us. And there's so much motion in the water around. So the cups right now are just taking a moment, taking a breather to not be in the rushing water right now. Actually, I will pull this Nine of Cups and this Ten of Cups to the side. I'll highlight them later with the Nine and Ten of Pentacles. Child of Cups and the Explorer of Cups. Oh my gosh, these are two of my favorite cards. There's such a sweet energy in these two cards. If you've never seen the Spacious Tarot before, you might have noticed that there are no figures or actors in this deck. By actors, I mean people or animals or figures that are doing something. However, there are actors in the court cards and in a few of the minor arcana throughout the deck. I do love this deck because it doesn't have the actors, because it really just feels like acknowledgement of the situation rather than like, again, prescriptive of like, do like this person or not. So the Child of Cups, this fish is like in this little bowl of water and it's connected to the outside water. And it's getting to see it, but not be in the depths of it right away. You can enjoy your little comfortable safe space right now, but you are also acknowledging that there is a lot out there that you might not know that you get to explore. And then in the Explorer of Cups, you've left the place of familiarity, a little containment, and you're broadening your possibilities. I see bravery in this card as well, with this fish like daring to go deeper and deeper. Water is getting darker and darker as you're going deeper. You're exploring things that maybe other people haven't really explored before, that you've never explored before. And again, the transition from like being contained in your comfort zone, your familiar space, to this wide open ocean is very fascinating for me. And this cup is like, you know, little treasure. Actually, it's kind of like the Ace of Cups, huh? We got mountains here in the Ace of Cups, and then sort of the same mountains, wavy things in the Explorer of Cups. That's a cool callback. Okay. Guardian of Cups, aka the Queen of Cups, and then Elder, King of Cups. Now the Pentacles suit. 9 and 10 of Pentacles, another two of my favorite cards, and I'll pull these out to compare them as well. 9 and 10 of Pentacles and 9 and 10 of Cups. I really love the distinctions that I see in this Spacious Tarot. I find that some decks tend to illustrate these very similarly, and it doesn't feel clear to me how the Pentacles and the Cups would differ. For the 9 of Cups, I associate cups with emotions, ideals, visions, and really contentment. We're here on the edge of the ocean, where we're comfortable with the land and where we're maybe exploring with the water here. I've often heard the 9 of Cups depicted as a wish fulfillment card as well. And so we have a dandelion here, almost representing wishes. The fact that the dandelion seeds are all still here, though, and not being blown, actually could mean that maybe there's not much that I want to wish for right now. Maybe I feel just happy as I am, and I don't need to wish for anything else. And in comparison, the 9 of Pentacles feels like curating or trimming down, basically putting in effort and being satisfied with the effort that you've put in. So 9 of Cups representing satisfaction or fulfillment with like your emotions, feeling aligned. And the 9 of Pentacles could mean feeling aligned or feeling fulfilled with the work, the efforts that you've done, that you've made. With these doors right here, it also feels like going into your garden and the doors open for the first time and you're like, oh, look at all my plants that I have spent so long gardening and taking care of, and now they get to bloom and I get to trim them and guide them to be the way that I would like them to be. And these two cards, energies, concepts, can be overlapping, but they can also be very separate. You can have a very curated home and environment. You know, you put in efforts to where you are. Your efforts are very much paying off or something, but you don't feel emotionally satisfied or content. On the other hand, you could feel very emotionally satisfied and content, even if your life is kind of in shambles. You have a lot of shit that you need to get done or that you need to work through or work on really, but you are still feeling content and satisfied anyway. So yeah, these two energies feel very distinct, and I just love the Spacious Tarot for this. And then the 10 of Pentacles and 10 of Cups, similar distinctions here. With the 10 of Cups, I see contributing and flow, as all of these energies and emotions and water from all of these different cups is flowing together all into one. It can be fun to really just tie yourself in with everything else around you, everyone, or just mush all of your feelings together. Again, it's like 9 of Cups, but even more than this. Like this contentment, but even more, I guess. And the 10 of Pentacles, instead of this like mixture together, it's more like an embeddedness, I guess. Like all of the efforts that you've put into maintaining your life or doing the thing that you've been doing, they've really been embedded into the foundation of the thing. And now that thing is going to grow a lot and for a long time because of all the efforts and the things that you put into it. Showing again, do the comparisons between 9 of Cups, 9 of Pentacles, 10 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles. These are very, very smart cards. I love the Spacious Tarot for this. The Guardian of Pentacles is another favorite card. I love how serene this card feels. This bear holding this pentacle is just sitting here in this field. First of all, I love that it's sitting compared to the Elder of Pentacles who is standing. There implies a bit more like almost activeness or like engagement here. I think the Guardian of Pentacles is still engaged, but not in like a forceful, maybe micromanaging kind of way or something. But it feels like it's just here sitting with this forest, sitting with all these leaves. The leaves falling can imply like seasons changing, things changing. It reminds me to just sit with things instead of always trying to curate and trying to optimize, make them the best that they can be. So yeah, that's the Guardian of Pentacles. Elder of Pentacles. I actually kind of wish that this field had more flowers or more things in it. I think that could have been a really cool touch for the Pentacles. I think this field looks a little bit bare. All right, now to the swords suit. Oh, the Ace of Swords. This makes so much sense for me. And it feels like these are like invisible lines suddenly made visible. These like ratio lines on the hilt here. This to me feels like when I'm either in the shower or going to bed, suddenly I have a clear answer, a clear idea of like the solution to a problem that I've been simmering on for a while, or to a problem that I didn't even know was a problem. Suddenly we can make sense of these seemingly random or abstract ideas. Seeing like all these lines converge at this one point of the sword and seeing like, oh yes, the hilt measurement suddenly makes sense. The ratio of everything makes sense. The proportion of everything makes so much sense. The Two of Swords. Oftentimes, Rider-Waite-Smith decks will have a figure holding the two swords crossed. Here, this card adds that the sunlight is not able to reach this plant because of these swords blocking the way. This is just an acknowledgement of the situation that right now your mind is crossed, your ideas are crossed, and there's no clear decision or way forward. You're just pondering different things. Because of that, you're not able to let light or enlightenment come through, and that's okay. It almost feels like you take all the time that you need, I guess. Three of Swords. Five of Swords. Oh my gosh, I love this card. Oftentimes I hear the phrase, won the battle, lost the war, or pick your battles in association with the Five of Swords. To me, this vulture represents the question of who benefits from these battles, who benefits from feeling like we're winning or losing. Plus, the idea of winning or losing can be a false dichotomy. It could feel like people are winning in different ways, like maybe one person has won because they've gotten to say their piece, and the other person is also winning because they learned a lesson from the other person communicating. I guess a lost condition could be if in the friendship we're not taking care to actually understand each other or communicate our conflict or disagreement in a way that actually reaches the other person and in a way that honors ourselves as well. The question for me with the vulture is who benefits from this disruption and who benefits from the way that this disruption will be resolved. And also, this vulture could represent looking at things from a higher perspective, standing on top of this sword instead of like being on the ground with this swords as well. Seven of Swords, another favorite card. I was just talking about this in a different video. Again, I love that this seven does not seem prescriptive or advice in any way. Actually, this could seem similar to a Seven of Wands card, where we have one figure, one sword, one wand, going up against, or just in comparison, in contrast to 6 other wands or figures or swords. And this sword has this crooked line down here in the ice, whereas these other swords have these straight lines. And my keyword of unconventionality really shows through in this card, in this depiction. I know a common interpretation for the Seven of Swords is like someone else, someone outside of us being suspicious. But this sword could also represent one of our own internal thoughts or ideas. Something I've been learning a lot in therapy this past year has been to acknowledge thoughts rather than trying to suppress them. Sometimes we have thoughts that are not in alignment with who we are and or that we don't want to hold on to forever. Sometimes they keep popping up even if we don't want them to pop up. And I used to take all of these thoughts so seriously. Like every thought that I have would define me as a person. And now I've learned that thoughts are just doing their thing. The brain is just firing. It doesn't mean that it's trying to hold on to every thought forever. It's just processing things, and what we can do instead of suppressing everything and like trying to manage all of our thoughts is just to acknowledge, okay, hi thought, I see you're there. Are you trying to tell me something? Are you trying to tell me something useful? Okay, well, in any case, thanks mind, thanks thought. So this sword that looks different and that has a different like train of line or whatever from these other swords, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. We can just acknowledge that this thought is here, it's not in alignment with the other thoughts, and that is okay. It's just an acknowledgement. And the opposite could be read as well with this card. Maybe all of the thoughts and the things that we try to hold ourselves to are so rigid. So what do we do when we see a thought or an idea or an action from ourselves or someone else that doesn't seem in alignment? Do we really want to be so quick to suppress it and make it in line with the others? Or maybe this difference can actually question, like, if these old lines have been working for us before. I love this card. I hope you can tell. Nine of Swords. Oh my gosh, this mouse is so brave. I love that this mouse has its eyes open and it's actually facing the swords. This visually depicts the feeling of being scared shitless, really. But it's still facing the swords, and that reminds me to have courage, to have bravery, even in the face of fear. And having bravery or courage doesn't mean that we're dismissing the fear or trying to ignore it, trying to pretend it doesn't even exist. This feels like an acknowledgement of the fear, the worries, that anything that swords can represent, the over-analyzing, over-criticism. We're acknowledging it, and we're going to face it. We're still going to try to keep moving forward. And the 10 of Swords, the 9s and 10s in this deck are killing it. There's a tree stump here with 10 swords already cutting into it, making it like even more split open. So here, the tree has already been cut down. What's left of it is the stump, the like corpse that remains of it. And yet there's still more swords cutting into it, opening it deeper. Honestly, this could be an acknowledgement of being really thorough with your criticisms or ideas or thoughts, really making sure that you're really thorough with exploring everything that there can be to explore. And that could be a positive or a negative thing, like I've been mentioning. I've heard the keyword overkill being associated with the 10 of Swords, and this definitely illustrates that concept well. It's funny that there's a sword on the side in the shadow over here, and this sword on the side too. It's like there's not even room on this top of the tree stump for more swords, and yet they're still trying to find a way to dig in. It's just kind of funny. It's like in the shadow, little lurker. All right, and then the Quartz, Child of Swords. I don't remember how long I had this deck until I realized that this crow here, or maybe a raven. It's looking at this sword from upside down, looking at it from a different perspective. That's cool. All right, and the wands. I know that some people have struggled with the wands because it seems like a pip-ish kind of suit, but for me, the energies just seem very clearly illustrated. The Three of Wands is a favorite card because we've got some of our wands, some of our energies in order, and now what we're doing next is just taking the next steps. I really love this depiction of Three of Wands compared to many other depictions of someone sitting down or standing on the edge of a cliff, like looking off into the sea. The path here with the Three of Wands is depicted very differently from this path here with the Eight of Cups. With this 8, we see the path going all the way towards the horizon here, but with this Three of Wands, we only see the next few steps ahead of us. And even though both are in darkness, this Eight of Cups really looks like it's in full darkness, whereas this Three of Wands has at least these wands lighting the way. And the question is, what do these wands represent? Maybe these wands represent the ideas, the passions to go along with the next steps, even though we can't see the clear end goal. And that Eight of Cups feels like a long trek ahead of us, bit by bit, very slowly. Four of Wands. 5, shake up, disruption of energy. 6, coming back together. 7, let's compare the 7 of Swords and the 7 of Wands real quick. One thing against 6 other things. And the theme of being different is shared with both cards here. This sword has a different line marking, and this wand just looks different. So the contrast here too is like, even though the sword on the surface might look the same as these other swords, I guess the shadow or the impact or something that this line represents is different. Whereas this wand just looks different. 8 of Wands, a 9 of Wands. Like I said, the 9s and the 10s in this deck are killing it. So with this 9 of Wands, this contrast is interesting. With the 8, we have all these wands all scattered, pointing the same direction. With the 9, they're coming all together, being crisscrossed and woven in a way that makes it feel very strong. It could also be very like entangled together. And I guess similar to the other 9s, where the other 9s have represented like alignment and almost fulfillment. I could see how here all of the energies, the ideas are banding together and just creating strength from being all together. And then the 10 of Wands. The 10 of Wands was a card that I identified with for a long time when I was first starting to learn tarot because it represented that feeling of constantly being overwhelmed and overextended. I feel like I was very dysfunctionally like keeping it all together. This feels like almost holding like all of my textbooks and knowing that I have like 6 hours of homework to do after school and I don't know a different way to live. I don't know what to do for fun. All I know is school and learning, which I love, but also is stressful. So I think that's interesting too. With these wands, these are things that we almost want to be holding so much of. We feel like I want to do everything. I want to do all of these things, but it is a lot for us to hold. It's blocking like our view of anything around us. There's not even a scene of anything behind in the background here. And then the Quartz, the Guardian of Wands. This is a very different energy from the Page and the Explorer of Cups. So I was initially thinking, like, wouldn't this Guardian of Wands be like the Explorer of Cups? So like, why wouldn't this be an Explorer? And why wouldn't this be like, I guess the Guardian, because they're radiance. But now this difference actually shows a key difference in like wands and fire energy versus the water energy. For the watery cups energy, it feels very inward, very solo, almost quiet too as you're swimming down to this cup, these depths by yourself. This Explorer of Wands energy is very different. It's very open and expressive and outward. This is like uncontained burst of fire. And it does feel like that Knight of Wands energy where you just got a lot of ideas and energy. You're just going to do whatever you feel like. And again, this Explorer of Cups, this Knight of Cups feels more slow and inward. So I do see that difference now. And this Guardian of Wands is a favorite card. Again, let's compare these. This Guardian of Wands feels more intentional. It's more careful. It's not like being in the midst of the fire like this Explorer. The guidebook actually mentions that this is tending to the fire. And the Elder of Wands. And then to the Majors. The Fool. Magician. High Priestess is a favorite card. My understanding of the High Priestess improved so much when I explored it last year during my Top Tarot Trumps and Tarot Memoir series. It was a video series. It is a video series. I'm still doing it, where I reflect on each of the major arcana and find examples from my personal life to exemplify and help me visualize, conceptualize these concepts. So this High Priestess definitely ties in with those themes of like mystery and inner knowing. Here I see I'm on the edge of the ocean. Here's the land here, which could represent what I'm comfortable with. And then here's the water, which could represent like new terrain or the unknown. I also see that this shell on the beach looks very unassuming. Like you'd have to get in closer to actually start looking in the shell and want to explore it more. Even if we go deeper, where we explore, we think about things, there are still things that we're not going to understand, with space representing more of the unknown. And I think for ourselves, High Priestess is a good energy to embody as well. Oftentimes, I talk a lot, I babble a lot really, because I just want to be understood. I use so many words to try to be fully understood. This High Priestess is a good contrasting energy. It reminds me that the people who want to get to know me will make the efforts to actually come closer. I don't need to spill my guts, my innards, like out onto the beach for everyone. I can trust that other people, when they want to get to know me more, it's there. If they don't want to, that's okay. We can just sit here on the beach, hiding our deep inner world or whatever, and just be okay with that too. Ah, the Lovers. This is such a simple card compared to all of the other scenes in the deck. This depiction of like the lines crossing and uncrossing is really cool. I like that depiction compared to like if the lines were just like completely parallel the whole time. In a healthy relationship, not just with like other people, but even with ourselves or the things that we're into, it's okay to have some distance and then come back together again. We don't need to be constantly aligned and always stuck together the entire time. And there's also like lighting up the darkness here in these areas where the lines are conjoined and connecting. Yeah, I think this is an incredible choice for the deck. In the midst of these cards with some scenery, lots of scenery, minimal scenery, there are also cards like this that are just minimal. It adds such visual variety to the deck. Another favorite card is the Chariot. I see here these cliffs that are blocking our way. It feels like our way forward is kind of guided. Maybe there are other paths out here that we're not seeing, but in this card, we just see the way forward. It also reminds me of the Three of Wands and the Eight of Cups, where these cards also all represent like ways forward, but the ways that they're depicted is pretty different, right? With the Three of Wands and the Eight of Cups, these paths are open on both sides, but the Chariot, the path is not open. So this could represent like moving forward, being on one path, and with the motion of this river, this water as well, we're moving forward whether we're in control or not, whether we want to or not. For example, when we're moving to a new place, sometimes you don't need to have like long-term plans about the new place. It's just the moment to move forward step by step until you get to that next like big milestone or more open water out here. The Hanged One. Oh my gosh, another absolute favorite card. So interesting to see the contrast of this really dark card compared to the bright colors of this Death card. This Hanged One illustrates so clearly this concept of suspension, being out of your element. There's no like rocket or ship here ready to take you back home. You're forced to look at your home, your familiar place from a different perspective. You also get to notice now the open sky around you, the expanse of the large, unknown, abstract realm of possibilities or just things around you that maybe you wouldn't have noticed if you were just on Earth looking at the things around you. So there's a lot of meanings that I could read into with this Hanged One here. Let's compare this with the Ten of Wands. Here there are similar elements of things covering your vision so much that you can't see the background very much. Like I've been mentioning, I love when cards are not prescriptive and not shaming you or telling you what to do or what not to do. So here with this Devil, it's an acknowledgement that I'm in the woods right now. I'm not close to the outside. I might be thinking not super clearly, represented by this sun being behind the tree, but I don't think that's a bad thing either. I think when other people say like, oh, you're not thinking clearly, I think that's pretty dismissive because we know ourselves best and we know our inner world best. If we're in this Devil energy, who says that we have to go out to see the light right away? What if we feel like dancing and frolicking or sulking in this forest a while longer, exploring all that this forest has to offer? Just because it's dark doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Maybe it's terrain that no one else has explored before, or even terrain that I myself have never dared to explore before. And now I'm in it. maybe I feel like wanting to be in it for a while longer. I also see an element of like safety here, like feeling safe in this darkness, because maybe being in the light, in the sun, is just too overwhelming right now. And lastly, a favorite card is the Judgment card. This is what I imagine a spiritual experience would feel like. I also see the meaning of like a wake-up call, or like ready to move on to something else, something greater. I see that the trees, the scenery around us just look not fulfilling, not exciting anymore. There's no color, it's all monochromatic, but now this portal ahead of us has so much color and a new path. Actually, with this path, it could seem similar to the Fool, seeing this path in the Fool here versus this path in the very small bit of the Judgment card here. And it just goes to show again that the visual depictions, the visual themes of the Spacious Tarot are just so incredible. While I'm here, I'll show you how the deck shuffles, because why not? So this cardstock is pretty stiff. I'm able to riffle shuffle it because I have kind of strong hands, but see, you can see there. Oh, it's loud. It's pretty stiff, and I know some people will have issues with riffle shuffling this. If you try to bend the deck, there's not much give. Overhand is pretty good though. All right, and that was a look at my favorite cards of the Spacious Tarot. If you don't get the deck for yourself, that's okay, because you can live vicariously through videos like this. Let me know if you have any favorite cards from the Spacious Tarot, and or themes or colors, or things that really stand out to you about the deck. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye!